Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And so am I.
And coming up today, another WWE superstar has got themselves into trouble talking about their release on social media.
Another WWE superstar teased their retirement on Raw.
Some new tag team champions were also crowned on Monday Night Raw.
And The Fiend has claimed his latest victim.
This is the news.
And we are going to kick things off with a little backstage news with regards to last night's Raw. Ryan Satin of Pro Wrestling Sheet, he of being just a really reliable wrestling journalist and kind of fighting with Jim Cornette on Twitter fame, has come through with the news that Vince McMahon wasn't there. He wasn't in the house for another tremendous episode of Raw. I'll just read the tweet here. According to sources, Vince McMahon is not at today's Raw in Minnesota for some reason. I'm told Triple H, Paul Heyman, and Kevin Dunn are running the show. Apparently Heyman sat at the main table with Levesque and Dunn during the production meeting, which isn't the norm. So, my weird delivery of that last line aside, this is pretty interesting stuff because Raw was really quite great last night and Vince wasn't there.
More of this, please. Is it a bit like when you're at school and your teacher just doesn't show up and you're like, well, if they're not here in 10 minutes, legally, we can just go home.
Yeah, and then you end up getting like the really cool substitute teacher and it's fun anyway, so you're kind of happy to be there. Satin offers a more subjective take below. He says, if this had anything to do with tonight's show being as great as it was, then Vince staying out of the weeds, as he said, could be a very good thing for Raw. So, you know, it's very easy to sit here when things go wrong and say it's Vince's fault, and then when things go right to say, oh, it's someone else's credit, like Paul Heyman did this good, not Vince. But it's kind of an earned take after years and years and years. But, you know, analysing all this stuff, we should point out that Vince has been in the house for every other recent episode of Raw, and they've all been great as well, so...
And SmackDown, he's been rewriting SmackDown at the last minute, and they've been good too.
Yeah, he's been cutting it up, chopping it to pieces, putting it back together. Maybe at 70 million years old, he's figured it out. He's cracked the creative code.
It's only taken how many years? Yeah.
Either way, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, last night's Raw was really good. I mean, obviously yesterday, all the reports were that he was possibly going to go out and make an announcement on Monday Night Raw, all about the future of NXT. That hasn't happened yet.
Looks like Dave got that one wrong.
Yeah, temper expectations on that one. I sense that is going to be happening if all the rumours about them going to the USA Network are true. But if he's just sort of the overseer rather than, as you say, deep in the weeds as he used to be, then this is only a good thing. Look, you've hired all these people. You've hired Heyman. You've obviously got Trips. You've got Bischoff. You've got all these experienced personnel. Rely upon them and just go and have a nice time somewhere because the show's doing great.
You're in your 70s, man. Go and have a permanent holiday. Just go on a cruise for 5 years and enjoy your life, man.
You're in your 70s, which means, judging by the McMahon family, you've probably got only another 30 years left.
He's not wired that way, though, is he? Like,
no.
It's Vince. He needs to be in constant. He's sleeping 1.5 hours every night. But yeah, he's Lazarus as well. He'll be here forever.
Hopefully, the more and more we get closer to the XFL, he'll be more and more distracted by this new toy of his, and more stuff like this will happen. Because great show, and not much, shenanigans really.
Yeah,
that just were a bit pointless. Like all the stuff made sense. And all the stuff made things better, as much as people may be pissed off about, something I'm going to mention in just a few minutes. Yeah. By the way, thing I haven't mentioned, which I normally meant to, is the fact that if you want to listen to the news when you're out and about on the go, make sure you download it as a podcast by searching for What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. But let's move on, because it wasn't all good news when it comes to Monday Night Raw last night, because one person who's in a lot of hot water is Kalisto, tweeting yesterday, 10 months, ... #free agent, and Grand Metalik responded, me too, suggesting both will leave when their deals expire next year. And have they not learned anything about what WWE do to people who say, hey guys, going to be a free agent soon?
Yeah, it seems like barely a week passes without some cheeky scamp popping up on Twitter and dropping a little bath bomb in the bathwater of their murky WWE future. It's
not for sale.
Not for sale. It's something you always kind of have to take a pinch of cynicism, hint of salt, whatever your phrase of choice is here, because wrestlers are wrestlers and wrestlers are always working. So there's a chance that Metalik and Kalisto, who are only ever used on Raw as jobbers, even though they're on 205 Live, obviously, they're just trying to get people talking. That's always the possibility. But my favourite reply to all of this was Braun Strowman, who came through saying, adios. This coming from a man who, of course, once put Kalisto in a bin and I think pushed him off the stage on Raw. So obviously no love lost there, at least in kayfabe terms.
I just imagine Vince not being on Monday Night Raw and just, relaxing, maybe out for a nice meal with Linda, and then suddenly he gets the little notification saying what Kalisto's tweeted, and he's just gone, "When's Lars Sullivan back?"
Get me Lars. Well, we could pivot here from one masked wrestler and another to Rey Mysterio.
Good, nice.
I mean, it would have been a good segue if I hadn't messed it up. But Rey Mysterio last night's Raw cut a very emotional promo during an interview with Charlie Caruso. Almost said Kayla Braxton there, idiot boy. And when she was talking about his current situation, he was very downtrodden. He got a bit nostalgic, saying he's had a wonderful career. He's been very fortunate. But then he spoke about Andrade, saying he hasn't been able to get the better of him. The other week Andrade ripped his mask, and that's a disgrace. But Rey couldn't get his own back. And he'd always knew that every wrestler in this game, their injuries, age eventually catches up with them. But he didn't think his day would come. But it has, and now maybe it's time to say goodbye. It's time to leave the game to younger wrestlers. Starts taking off his mask. Or trying to. He's very teary-eyed, he's very upset. In comes Dominic, who says, "No, Dad, don't do that. You promised me that my first match, you would team with me. And we'd be like super pals or whatever." Big hug. Again, full camera zooms in, Rey's crying, it's all very emotional. It's one of the better promos, maybe of his career, because, he's always been a tremendous wrestler, not necessarily a great promo. And looks like Rey is sticking around. He wants to team with Dominic. This ties in nicely with the report last week that WWE want to sign Dominic at some point. Cool stuff.
I really like this, My best friend, Rey Mysterio, of course, he teased it on social media. We're going to have a big announcement tonight, as you would see from, anyone, any sort of sportsman, to be honest. And then the promo itself made sense. He didn't go out to the ring to get all this attention. He just said, "Look, I still want to keep trying, but my body's not responding. I think it's finally telling me, look, I think it's time to hang it up." And then Dominic comes in and says this wonderful, it got me a little bit, them saying, "No, you said you and I could team together, and who won't want to tag with their dad in their first ever wrestling match?" And this may lead to Dominic getting the crap beaten out of him. And I love you, Dominic, but I want to see that happen.
Or it could lead to Dominic turning on his dad, beating him up and going, "Actually, yeah, Dad, you are a little puke." So
changing my pick, Dominic for King of the Ring.
Get in.
But that wasn't the only major thing that happened on Monday Night Raw last night, because we crowned new tag team champions. Seth Rollins, who just seems to continuously change who he wins the tag team championships with. How many is this now? 4?
I think it's number 5. Yeah, Jason Jordan, Dean Ambrose, all kinds of crazy
Nicholas,
stuff.
Of course.
Yeah.
And now Braun Strowman. Yes, Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins defeated the OC in the main event of Monday Night Raw to be crowned new Raw tag team champions. Really good little match. Earlier on in the night, there'd been interference as Braun Strowman looked like he was about to capture the United States Championship. So Seth Rollins came down to make the save in a reverse of what happened in the main event of last week. And then they demanded a match, and because it's Raw, they just went, "Yeah, all right, okay, fine, have the match." A really entertaining little affair. And they worked really well together. My favourite part was obviously the finish. A running power slam from Braun Strowman, and AJ Styles, the little weasel that he is, comes in and you think, "Oh God, here we go. They're going to look like they're about to get the pinfall." And then in he comes for the DQ. But no, he got his head stomped off his shoulders by Seth Rollins, and Braun Strowman got the 1, 2, 3 to crown Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins new tag team champions. But the key thing here is as they celebrate on the ramp, if Andy Murray pretends to be Seth Rollins for a second, and I'm Braun Strowman, of course, "Get these odds." I've got the Raw Tag Team Championship in one hand, he's got the Raw Tag Team Championship in the other hand, the Universal Championship's here, and Braun Strowman could not take his eyes off it. I like this build to their match.
I'm gonna bring you down, Braun. It was interesting stuff. I think there is a valid comment to be made about the all-star team coming together, the all-star team with limited experience teaming together, coming along and just beating a team with chemistry who've been tagging for years. And yeah, it's kind of a shame that Gallows and Anderson's title reign ended after 20 days or whatever it was with no successful defenses. But obviously WWE see the future Universal title program as the more important storyline, and to be honest, made me really excited for Braun and Seth.
Yeah, and if you're disappointed and pissed off, I'm not happy. I said the OC should hold the belts for a good 6 months and have, the whole club holding all the gold, or, some of the gold at least. But I wouldn't rule out them getting those belts back, whether that be, on the Raw just before Clash of Champions, so we can really hint at dissension between Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman, or possibly on the pay-per-view with Braun maybe. I suggested Braun just stopping halfway through that tag team title match and saying, yeah, beat the crap out of Seth. I'll see you in the main event for the Universal Championship, mate.
Yeah, sometimes I think like it's important not to get too pissed off in the moment because you do have to let things pan out. These segments don't exist in a bubble. They're usually part of a larger storyline.
Yeah, Vince wasn't there last night, so there might be a plan.
Yeah, exactly. But if this thing leads to the OC getting the belts back because Braun and Seth, like Braun's too focused on the Universal title and they capitalize on a miscommunication, then it's fine and it's good, and it was a cool way to end the show. I think it worked. Another thing that really worked on the show, surprise, surprise, was The Fiend, who continues to be one of the best things in WWE. He claimed his latest legendary victim in the form of Jerry the King Lawler on last night's show. There was supposed to be a King's Court segment with Jerry Lawler hosting with Sasha Banks. What Bray Wyatt's wacky light noises stuff things started happening. Jerry Lawler, though, he was like, no, I'm too smart for this. He goes up the ramp.
Hang on. Carry on.
Here we go. He goes up the ramp. He's like, I'm getting the hell out of here. He stands there at the top of the stage like a bit of a goober, and there's The Fiend. Mandible claw. Jerry Lawler's lights go out while the arena lights flash. It's really good, great stuff. Bray's like cackling like a mental guy. There's wowie yowie chants throughout the arena. It's over as hell. But when they come back on, a bunch of referees show up and like help him out and stuff. Really effective. Again, great presentation for The Fiend.
Brilliant stuff. We talked last week about the fact that WWE have said we're going to use The Fiend sparingly, not on every week, but the hint is meant to be for the audience. You never know when he's going to show up, and Bray Wyatt showed up a little bit too much for my liking back in the day. Yeah. But now, when it was, I was like, oh, Jerry the King Lawler's going to interview Sasha Banks. Good luck, everyone.
Yeah.
And then, when the moment the lights started going out, I just popped, and I loved the little appearance from behind Jerry the King Lawler. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. More of this, please.
More.
Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, if you want to get in touch. First question today comes from Bo Adam Jr., who says, how would you book Ronda Rousey's return?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's something we've kind of spoken about before, and it's something that I've sat here and fantasy booked before, but I would really like to see her and Shayna Baszler. I would like to see, I think Ronda's the biggest mainstream name in the company. She's got to be either a special attraction or a title chaser or title chasing adjacent. You bring Shayna Baszler up, 6 months from now, she wins the Raw or SmackDown belt. You have Ronda come in and challenge her, and I think it's the easiest match in the world to book, given their history, their friendship, their everything.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to book Ronda's return purely because of that whole impregnation vacation that she went on. We don't really know, what her plan is going forward for the next 6, 12, 18 months. But yes, I think a match against Shayna Baszler would be great. Maybe her coming out at number 30 at a subsequent Royal Rumble, perhaps.
Cool.
Or just, a callback to Becky and Charlotte and all that stuff. 4 Horsewomen is obviously another thing that we could go by, but I just can't wait to see her back in the ring, to be honest. Yeah. Get back soon, although enjoy your impregnation vacation. Second question today comes from Worm, who says, should Sami Zayn join the Undisputed Era? He fits the mould of the group and he's doing nothing on Raw. Yeah. Well, he is doing stuff on Raw. He's losing in the King of the Ring tournament.
The problem with Sami Zayn joining Undisputed Era, I think, and I love Sami Zayn, so don't take this as like me just slagging off Sami Zayn, is that WWE have turned him into a loser. Like last night's match with Cedric Alexander got no response whatsoever except when Cedric did his video game moves, which is great because that's what Cedric's great at. But WWE have done a tremendous job of just undermining Sami and making me not care about him.
A guy who I was insistent would be Mr. Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and his TV record is now 2 wins and 16 losses. It's pathetic. And the problem is, if you latch someone with that onto a stable like the Undisputed Era, they are immediately cast as something you're not supposed to care about because they've been given this guy who really now is just a loser and a dork. They really need to rebuild Sami. He's one of the most talented guys in the company. I love what he does with Sami for Syria. He's too good for WWE in every single sense, on camera and off. They don't know what they have in him. They need to rebuild him before they can do anything. However, I do agree that heel-wise, his character is a tremendous fit.
Yeah, if he wins a few matches, he'd be absolutely fine. I can't remember who suggested it in the WhatCulture office. I'm going to say Michael Hamflett, but someone here at WhatCulture, we've got a pretty good track record of booking stuff for WWE, suggested a complete flip reverse at Hell in a Cell between Owens and Shane McMahon. Hell in a Cell match, and Sami saves Shane.
Woo!
Then we get the
great match.
Owens versus Zayn match with roles reversed. And again, I think that would hopefully help rehabilitate his character a little bit.
I'm here for that.
But yes, I'd like to see him as part of the Undisputed Era, but not as the character is right now.
Such a shame. He's such a good guy, man.
Final question today comes from me, the 6, you, the 9.
Legend.
Who says, what do you consider to be the worst stable ever? His vote is for the League of Nations.
The League of Nations is a great thing, like a great
They were
answer.
banner, I'm not having them.
But like, how do you have a stable called The Lads, which I love, right? And you have Sheamus, great lad. Rusev, great lad. Wade Barrett, great lad. And Alberto Del Rio, who's not a great lad. You could have had Big Tony Cesaro in there, and it would have been top banner. Idiots. I think the worst stable of all time is also the best stable of all time, and that's the Dungeon of Doom. The Yate and Kevin Sullivan being this mad, frothing idiot in a cave. Great stuff. Incredible patter. I don't know how anyone can't love the terrible greatness of the Dungeon of Doom.
My worst stable ever? Well, it's obvious. Of course it's not. You really thought I was going to do that for a second, you idiot. No, it is, of course, the Social Outcast. The Job Squad 2. Job Squad were fine because you knew what they were doing. The Social Outcast, they were like, you four haven't got much to do. Can we just job you out every week, but like as a collective? Rubbish.
Yeah.
Absolutely dreadful stuff. Let us know your worst stable ever in the comment section below. And we'll move on to today's and finally. A lot of talk at the moment about new signings for WWE, for New Japan, for AEW. But the biggest signing of all has to be for All Japan, who have announced on the 3rd of September someone is going to be making their in-ring debut. Do you know who it is, Andy Murray?
Is it Big Banter?
It is Big Banter.
Is it Ryback?
It's Hellboy. Hellboy is going to be making his debut, teaming with Jake Lee and Koji Iwamoto. On the 3rd of September. Quick bio for him. Name, Hellboy. Height, 213 centimetres. Weight, 227 kilograms. Hometown, Hell!
God almighty.
So keep an eye out for that one.
That's a weird move. I mean,
good big name signing for All Japan. Good work.
I would expect maybe like a Japanese promotion like DDT to book Hellboy, but All Japan.
Yeah.
Like they've had a lot of critically acclaimed matches this year with Kento Miyahara and all these guys.
Congratulations to Ron Perlman, I have to say.
Yeah, Ron Perlman scoring big.
Indeed.
Love him.
Let us know your thoughts on that and other, I don't know, what superheroes are they called? Monsters that you'd like to see wrestling.
Which one would you like to see?
I don't know.
Venom showing
Hulk.
up in...
Good dude. That's right. Let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And you can tweet us Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Whilst you're there, follow both of us. You can follow him at...
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for hippophile, but that's not someone who wants to nonce a hippo.
The more you know. You can follow me at Dan Wilborn. You can follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. And make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. My thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for watching. And we will see you soon.
It's a lover of horses. Horse nonce.